6 p.m., the most exciting window in sports now open. Bets are being made. Lineups are being locked. This is Heat Check. It's presented by BetMGM. Brendan Glasheen, Matt Moore, giving you everything you need to get smart about tonight's NBA games, including what you have to bet and the player prop you have to take. Everything we talk about, of course, picks, data, all of it available in the award-winning Action Network app. Matt Moore, how are you, sir?
Hanging in, man. Glad to see that a lot of players are getting out of protocols. Happy New Year to you. I think we're going to get some more normal NBA over the next couple of weeks, which will be a godsend, especially, I think, for bettors.
Much agreed. Hopefully we're in that position here very soon. And it feels like we're slowly getting there, as we've discussed on the show over the coming weeks. We were off last week, so we figured we'd bring something back here that we did a long time ago, it feels like. A money line parlay, just a two-pick because there's two of us. So, Matt, why don't you get us started? A team you just like to win tonight.
I'm going to take the Miami Heat. Taking on the Portland Trail Blazers. No Damian Lillard. He's been ruled out for at least a week as they continue to do consultations on his abdominal injury. A little bit of news here. League sources indicate that there is a possibility that the Blazers may decide to shut down Damian Lillard for the season to try and get him right from that abdomen. No decision's been made, but that is possible. If you're holding a Blazers futures ticket, look for a way maybe to start looking for an opportunity to hedge there. Meanwhile, look, this Heat team, Jimmy Butler is banged up. He's got a bad ankle. Dwayne Dedmon and Bam Adebayo both out. This Heat team is just very deep. It's very loaded. They play disciplined. A lot of this is just Eric Spoelstra. They're a consistent, disciplined team. Meanwhile, Portland is an absolute mess. They got a big win the other night versus a Hawks team who's an even bigger mess. I can't expect Anthony Simons to go off for 40-plus points again. This Blazers team still a mess defensively, not good on that end. They're banged up. Miami may be banged up, but they're a more solid, consistent team. I'm going to grab them minus 135 on the money line.
All right, so I'm going to go on my end. I'm going to go plus money in this case. It's news pending. Hopefully we get some clarity on this very soon. I realize that I guess the good news is you're picking a game that's late too. I like the Denver Nuggets at plus 130 to take down the Utah Jazz. And I know this is a risky call. Rudy Gobert is the key to this whole thing. Rudy Gobert did not go to shoot around this morning. It's a non-COVID illness. There are some guys getting back for Denver. They're still without some coaches, but they do get Monty Morris back tonight. Gobert makes up such a high percentage of their rebounding rate, their defensive rebounding rate. If he's out of this game, it gives Jokic an opportunity to totally eat up. I realize this is a challenging spot to go against Utah. But if Gobert's out of this game, I give Denver a very good shot to win this basketball game. I'm curious what you think, how the line might move too.
I mean, it's already moved, right? Like the line movement has definitely indicated that Gobert
from was it 6 to 2.5?
Yeah, it was at 6 when we talked about it on Wednesday night's Buckets podcast, which you can download right now. Check out the Buckets podcast. It's moved all the way down to 2.5. So the number indicates that Gobert is not going to play. They could be missing a number of players. This is a huge gap. The other thing I would say, and I wrote about this on Action, which you can find in the app. Joe Ingles entered protocols on Sunday. What we've seen historically this season is that one player goes in. That was the first player for Utah to go into protocols this season. One player goes in, a couple days pass, more players go in, a couple days pass, more players go in. So I think there's a possibility you go see more players wind up on the COVID list before tip-off if the tests come back. I get it. For me, this is more about my hesitance, just about the Nuggets have been rough. Last 7 games, Jokic is shooting below 50% from the field. That's the first time in the season in any sort of 5-game stretch that he's done that. He is shooting 23% from three-point range the last 7 games. Mm-hmm. He has more turnovers than assists the last 7 games. This Denver team is banged up, beat up, exhausted. They just lost. Let me put it this way. The Nuggets lost Vlatko Čančar to a fractured foot this week. And if you're going, wait, who's Vlatko Čančar? My response is, that's how messed up the Nuggets injury report is. That I'm talking about Vlatko Čančar as a serious injury. They have no wings left. None. Right. Jeff Green and protocols. We can go for it. But I need to know, I'm a little nervous about this one, even if Rudy Gobert doesn't play.
I understand that. I just feel like Gobert makes up a lot of what.
I trust you. I trust you, Brendan. I trust you.
You don't have to. It's fine. I mean, we do have to. We have to ride together on this, right? If you do, the 2-leg parlay will pay out plus 315. So $100 get you $315. So there you go. Yeah, I'm taking Denver plus money. Keep an eye on the news, of course. That's kind of a big deal to this one. And the angles, too, is a factor. But no Gobert. Gobert hasn't missed a game this year either. That's my other kind of thought on this. It's not like we've had a sample without Gobert. So it makes me curious. Betting is believing. We give one spread or total. I think both of us are going to turn to spreads. And you're turning to a game that I think is going to have a lot of eyeballs on it.
Yeah, so Dirk Nowitzki is getting his jersey retired tonight. So an emotional boost for the Mavericks. Ooh. That's certainly a big night. Luka Doncic is back. That matters. Why is this line only 4.5, Brendan? I ask you, why are the Warriors only 4.5-point favorites versus this Dallas Mavericks team that has basically been like not bad defensively and offensively very underwhelming the entire season? This was at 4.5. It opened 4.5. It goes to 6 earlier today. It bumps all the way up to 6.5. Now it's moved back the other way. A lot of bets to come back in. We're back down to 4.5 at BetMGM, our sponsor. I still have to lay with the Warriors. I'm comfortable with this to 7. Golden State has just proven they can absolutely manhandle pretty much any team. They take these games seriously. They give good effort. Otto Porter likely to miss tonight. But with Jordan Poole back, Draymond Green back, Steph Curry back, that's all I really need here. I don't need much more. The Mavericks defense or offense rather is going to struggle. They've struggled all this season. And they also struggle specifically versus switching defenses, which the Warriors do a lot. They are one of the highest switch teams in the league, as they have been year in, year out, really since 2015 when Kerr took over. The Mavericks are 16th this season versus switch defenses. And there are a lot of bad switching defenses. This Warriors team is a great switching defense. Dallas, by the way, is dead last in rim rate offensively. They generate the fewest percentage of shots at the rim. The Warriors are number 1 defensively in keeping teams away from the rim. It's going to be all jump shots in this game. Luka has not had like a massive explosive game. Still doesn't look like he's in great shape. I can't figure out why this line is this short. It's short enough to where I want to be like, something's fishy here.
Yep.
But my number has this 8. I'm going to trust the model. I'm going with the Warriors minus 4.5.
And you got to imagine too, all that said about offense around the rim, Porzingis is out too, right? So I realize Porzingis is a stretch big, but at any point he does decide to shoot inside. That caters to what you're saying. So it almost makes too much sense. I kind of hear you, but 7:30 tip off, earlier start. I feel like in Dallas. I'm going to turn my attention to another game that I think folks are going to be interested in. It's Kyrie Irving's return. We're going to have more on Kyrie later in the show. So please, Kyrie would want you to stick around and listen to what he has to say. Listen to what we have to say. Overall this season, the Brooklyn Nets have not been a great first half team against the spread. But I like the Nets minus 4.5 first half. Going first half here. I'm not looking at 8.5 or at 9 at some point. It was on earlier today. I think as of right this second, this line is now it's at 5.5. Interesting. First half line is at 5.5 now. Okay. Well, when we had it earlier, 4.5, 5.5, that's an extra possession. That worries me a bit. So sticking with the 4.5 thought here, Nets have lost 3 straight games. There is a stat in the NBA this year, a road favorite that's lost 3 straight games. They are 3-0 in these spots. Very small sample size. But I find tonight to be a big motivational spot for the Nets. They get their star point guard back. He'll be the spark they need. They're going to push the tempo with Harden and Kyrie taking turns. I think Kyrie might be more of that 2 guard like we saw in that sample last year when James Harden was acquired. So that's interesting. Nets are 7th in the NBA in pace. Indiana's 24th. Indiana's guards are banged up. We just found out right before we started the show. Malcolm Brogdon, he has been ruled out tonight, conditioning. So they're down to, what's his name again? The starting point guard, Dwayne. I think they're starting someone at point guard. I'm not sure who it is. Washington. That sound right? Dwayne Washington. Okay.
There you go.
And look, second night of a back-to-back. He plays 37 minutes last night against the Knicks. They don't have much there at guard, so I like the idea of the Nets starting fast. That's a tough spot. And look, this isn't Kyrie coming out of protocol. I know he came out of protocols recently, but it's not like I just feel like because he can only play in the road games as of right now, he cannot play in home games. Kyrie's ready to go, and we'll have more on him specifically later. But I just think this is a jolt that will help the Nets. And I'm not brave enough to take 8.5, but 4.5 in the first half feels reasonable.
So you think that he'll give them an emotional boost. So you would say you don't expect that with Kyrie back for them to come out flat.
Flat. Nicely done.
I like this. I think this is fine. Grab this early. We talked about this last night on Buckets. Raheem Palmer, professional bettor, sometimes joins us. He's on this game. He's on the full game for the Nets when it was much, much lower. This line has grown. He said that Brogdon probably wouldn't play. He was right. I think Chris Duarte is banged up. They've got a lot of guys in protocols. The only hesitation I got, this is the only hesitation I have. Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis are both good to go. This Nets front line, their defense is terrible. But they still have to have guards get them the ball. So I'm with you on this. I think it's an interesting bet with the first half. But I think when you just look at it, the Pacers may just simply be overwhelmed here. So look, Kyrie's return gives them a little bit of boost. By the way, I spoke to bookmakers today. Kyrie's worth about 3 points to the spread.
Wow.
Multiple bookmakers said. So that kind of shows you the edge here that Kyrie's providing them and what they expect from him in this game. So I don't hate it at -4.5 first half.
Yeah, 5.5 makes me nervous. That's where it's at now on BetMGM. So no question about it. And the Nets have the second worst record in the NBA this year. First half against the spread, 14-20-1, whereas the Pacers, they've actually got one of the better marks. Second night of a back-to-back. I don't know. I feel it. Kyrie, and we'll get to him, but when he plays his first game back or something, he does not shy from the attention. Anywho, we'll get to him in just a minute. Let us now get to our one of our favorite parts of this show, where we spin the wheel, baby. It has a mix of player props on it, and we find out, as we said at the top of the show, the player prop you have to take. So please, producer, let's spin the wheel. Okay, Matt, you can go first, and you are turning to Oklahoma City's point guard.
All right, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is what I got, and it's 5.5 assists. I'm going to go with the over here. We prepped for all these, and I decided to go with the over on this one. The Wolves give up the second most assists per pick in pick and roll coverage, and the Thunder run an extremely high rate of pick and roll. They just run it all the time. Gilgeous-Alexander is expected to play, should be back. Should be able to generate easy buckets with his passing ability. He's a big, tall guard, should be able to get over. The Wolves play at the level a lot, and so they're going to blitz Alexander. You want a tall guard in that spot, and Alexander has the height to be able to reverse the court and get weak side buckets on the other side. Granted, look, am I worried about the Thunder shooting? Sure, I'm always worried about the Thunder shooting, but I also think this projects to be a little bit of a faster game. If you are a disciplined team, you can break the Wolves' press coverage. The Thunder are not a good team, but they're a disciplined team. So I like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. This number I think is soft at 5.5. He's averaging right around below this mark this season, but I do think that overall that's related to a lot of different things that have gone on with the Thunder this season. I like the spot. I will take Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 5.5 assists tonight.
Feels like what could scare you away is you see Karl Anthony Towns being back, D'Angelo Russell back. But as we found out, this little trend going on in the NBA with that conditioning factor, like maybe this is a tough kind of game for D'Angelo Russell defensively, right? That kind of factors in too.
Yeah, for sure. I think, look, and I also, if you look at it, I'm not necessarily scared. Cats, I think, played good defense this season. I'm not scared of the pressure that he will provide on the perimeter. And I do think that Oklahoma City will find ways to score. My biggest concern, honestly, is that they'll wind up hitting the short roll and then the screener will pass and there'll be a bunch of secondary assists. But the Wolves have been good in transition defense. I still think that the Thunder should be able to run enough to get downhill. I feel confident in this one over 5.5.
Okay, very good. All right, so Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 5.5 assists tonight for the Thunder. I guess it's my turn. Let's go. Let's spin it. All right, Pascal Siakam, who has been roaring as of late for the Toronto Raptors. His rebounding prop is at 9.5 tonight, and I'm going to take the over here. He has hit this pretty handedly in each of his last three, 19, 14, and then 12. And then on top of it, Toronto, after blowing out San Antonio, is on the road again. They're at their home last night. They're on the road tonight taking on Milwaukee, and Giannis has been ruled out. So I love this spot. Went back and looked at the 8 games Giannis has been out this season. Now, Milwaukee's 4-4. They're like competing. They're not getting blown out in these games. It's not like when Giannis is out, these games are non-competitive. So from a minute standpoint, I'm not worried about Siakam, even though he had a lighter workload last night because of the blowout win. However, what Milwaukee has struggled to do, it's like kind of like you look at the NFL, like, oh, how many times do they allow a 100-yard rusher? Well, this team, the Bucks, they cannot prevent their opponent from having a double-digit rebounder. In 6 of the 8 games Giannis has missed, there has been at least one player on the other team to get at least 10 rebounds. Christian Wood was a recent example. Robert Williams has done this. There have been Tyler Hero had a double-digit rebounding game in one of these outings. So it's very trendy. It's enough of a sample for me to keep hammering this. And Siakam, never mind those trends with Milwaukee's absence of Giannis. He's rolling. He's played well in 3 straight games. They're starting to click a bit here, the Raptors, and it's at plus money, plus 115.
I like it. No Giannis. Thanasis, his brother, is warming up as of right now. We see that via Jim Ashorsky on Twitter. So there's a possibility Thanasis plays, but, Thanasis is not Giannis. Semi Ojeleye, I think, is also questionable for this game. We'll have to see whether he's going to play. The reason I bring up these players, you just need bodies versus Siakam. Like, I don't know how they're going to keep him away from the rim with no Brook Lopez and no Giannis. So right. I like it. I like this pick. I think in general, Siakam's been playing better. The Raptors have been playing better. Maybe the concern is that it's a blowout the other direction, but I think Toronto, honestly, Milwaukee's shown an ability to hang even when they're missing guys. So, yeah, I like this. Over 9.5 rebounds. I like it. It
just feels, to your point, like he's hit it easily in each of the last 3 games. So I just feel like you're not, maybe if it was in 10.5, 11.5, maybe you back off, but you get the plus money on BetMGM. I'm into it. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander over 5.5 assists, and I like Pascal Siakam over 9.5 rebounds. So those are our player props from Spinning the Wheel, which is always a fun experiment here on this show. All right, in the final segment, it's an old axiom in betting. It's fade the public because you guys don't know anything at all, and we're going to prove it. We asked you on Twitter earlier this afternoon, Kyrie Irving being back tonight. He can only play in road games. He's back for the Nets. Does Kyrie Irving go over or under his points prop of 19.5 tonight in his season debut? The public, Matt, likes the over. It's at 53%, so it's not a landslide. I feel way more comfortable, maybe you won't, talking about, it's amazing. We go from talking about Joe Johnson to Kyrie Irving the last time we did this show. Feels like we're doing a show from like 7 years ago. Anyway, how do you feel about this? Kyrie Irving, 19.5 points, over or under?
I'll go under. I'm fading the public here. Look, for starters, Steve Nash said that Kyrie's going to be held to about 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong, Kyrie can get up 45 shots in 30 minutes, but I think in general he'll want to fit in this kind of setting. Fewer minutes for him in this set. I think in general that when you're talking about a player coming back, not only off of, like, he hasn't been in an NBA game in a long time. It's been a while since Kyrie was on the floor. So there's going to be some adjustment there. You've got to worry about conditioning, especially coming off of being in protocols, all these types of things. That's enough for me to be hesitant on the over here. I also think when you look at the Nets and how they're kind of designed, I think the Pacers scheme is going to give them a little bit, there'll be other opportunities that'll be easier. They'll want to move the ball and get open shots because they can create open looks pretty easily. I think Kyrie won't want to come in and really mess up things. He's still going to shoot. He'll still score. But I think 19.5 is too high. I will take the under on Kyrie Irving.
If I remember correctly, more so last year, I know Kyrie got injured during the playoff run, and he just got ruled out, right? Harden was kind of in and out, dealing with the hamstring. Kyrie was out. Like, we didn't see him. But when these three were on the floor together, which was not a big sample, we found out more that Kyrie would be just a kind of a 2 guard and like stay out of the way. So that's where I could understand maybe an under. But look, say what you want about the guy, but man, he in these like return games, if you go back to each of his last 2 years of coming back from an injury, like a 7-game absence, or in other cases, like a long absence, he comes back and lights it up. He had a performance like that where he scored 37 in a game 2 years ago. He had a return game last year after a 7-game absence. He scored 21, so that's right around the margin. And then in like season openers, his first year with Brooklyn, he scored 50 against the Timberwolves, 26 a year later against Golden State. He just gets up for these spots, and no matter what he says, and no matter what people say about him, he finds a way to block it out. I give him that. Now, does it yield to a W? I don't know. Does it mean it covers the spread? I don't know. But Kyrie Irving somehow manages to get going, and I think the Nets know, Harden and Durant know, we need this guy, I think, to win the whole thing. So they'll do their best to kind of keep him going. So it's fascinating, though, and we talked about this in our pre-show. I know we got to wrap soon here, but in our pre-show, just what this means for betting the Brooklyn Nets going forward here. Like they go back home Friday against Milwaukee. Who knows if Giannis is in after the news of today, but what that looks like, how to bet the Brooklyn Nets. If the Nets roll tonight, what does it look like Friday, Matt, when they go play Milwaukee and he can't play?
Talked to some bookmakers. His value of the spread is roughly about 3 points. Mentioned that earlier. So that's kind of how it goes. So I think one of the differences here is Patty Mills has been upgraded. One bookmaker did say that Patty Mills has been so good this year that they've upgraded his impact, which that takes away some of the sting of Kyrie not being there. I do think it's kind of interesting, though, when you look at this Nets team overall, their offense hasn't been all that explosive. Their defense has been really good in terms of results. When you get under the hood and you look at some of the numbers, the Nets defense has a lot of cracks in it, will probably regress. But Kyrie coming back is going to boost their offense. So I think if you're somebody like me that had the Nets over on their win total, you're feeling pretty good about getting Kyrie back, even just for the road games. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a big impact on them trying to figure out the Nets game by game, trying to figure this out, just because you're so used to playing like, oh, this guy's out tonight. Okay. Like NBA players are used to guys missing time. So I think that that's not going to be a huge issue. I think the bookmakers will be interesting to see, do they start inflating the lines? If the Nets win their first 5 road games by double digits, do we start seeing an even bigger swing than 3 points between those two differentials? It's going to be very fascinating to watch and track how the market adjusts to Kyrie being back. That, I think, to me, is just as interesting as seeing what the Nets are going to look like with him on the floor.
As far as futures on BetMGM, the Nets are plus 250 to win the title. They are the favorite, also the favorite to win the Eastern Conference at plus 130. So, of course, we'll monitor that anytime we pop up on a Wednesday. We've got a Kyrie Irving game or just a Nets game in general. But interesting. We'll find out. So the public likes the over 19.5 points for Kyrie Irving. Matt says under. I'm going to take the over. So to recap, what we're looking at tonight here on the on Heat Check. Matt likes, so you're cool. Warriors -5. That's your number. You even like it. Okay. Warriors at -5. SGA over 5.5 assists. Kyrie under. And I am looking to the Nets in the first half -4.5. Pascal Siakam over 9.5 rebounds. And Kyrie Irving to hit the over on his points prop. For more NBA picks all week long, be sure to check out Matt, all of our action analysts on the Buckets podcast. Anything to tease before we say goodbye?
Big episode for Friday's episode. We're going to be doing a basically catch up. If you have been distracted with football, understandably, and you're like, oh, what's been going on in the NBA this season? We got you set on Buckets on Friday. It's your previously on the NBA episode this Friday on Buckets.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you everyone behind the scenes. Matt, you have a great night. Best of luck. Best of luck to you with your bets and everything you look at tonight, of course, on the award-winning Action Network app. You just watched Heat Check presented by Bet.